I'm back with attorney and investment advisor and real estate investor and author, John Cox. The book we're talking about, The Newsom Nightmare. You know, John, recently, as you know, San Francisco undertook a major sort of cleanup. And it turns out that the cleanup was not really in response to, hey, let's make the city more livable for the people, but it's we've got a foreign visitor in town who happens to be named Xi, and we're going to do the cleanup sort of so we look good to the outside world. I mean, to me, what a telling reflection of who the politicians care about. And if I remember, Newsom even kind of admitted, he goes, people say we're doing it for the outsiders. Well, I guess that's true. So you would think that the ordinary San Franciscan would be like, aha, this is where I am on the totem pole, pretty low down as it turns out. Let's look at the bigger picture. I mean, is there hope for California? My wife was from Venezuela, sometimes calls it Calizuela. She's like, oh no, this is a model for how America is being taken down. But I assume that there's a part of you that's loyal to California, and that must mean that you see some hope for California to make a recovery.
Yeah, it was interesting you mentioned that about San Francisco, because even our famously liberal newspapers that truly love Newsom most of the time, they editorialized. The Chronicle and the LA Times both said, what the heck? You're cleaning up the city now because not only is President Xi visiting Dinesh, but of course he brings along a horde of media force, right, with him. And so that media is going to highlight it. And so they finally cleaned it up, and it was profoundly hypocritical to do that when they ignore it most of the time. Yeah, I think there is hope, Dinesh. It's almost like, when you boil a frog, right? At some point in time, the frog gets the message that they're just not going to change, and they hop out and they do something about it. And, as you know, a lot of Californians have left following you to Texas or to Idaho or other places. And I think people are finally getting the message. I'm hoping that hearthepeople.org, which is the effort that I'm making, will key a renaissance, a rebirth of our democracy. There's no question, I think, Dinesh, that our democracy needs a refresh. It's gotten so much dated with money and interest groups and partisanship that we need to get back to just talking to each other. Hear the People is applicable to the U.S. Congress. I'm working on it with respect to that. But it basically subdivides our huge congressional districts into 100 little sub-districts, so that a district of 750,000 people, which is what the size is now, becomes a district with 100 sub-districts, each with 7,500 people. And each of these tiny little sub-districts elects a person to represent them. And then those 100 people get together after the election and have a little meeting to elect one person to go to Washington, D.C. The other 99 stay home. The upshot of this whole restructuring, Dinesh, is basically that each little district, you don't need television ads or social media ads to get elected. In a district of 7,500 people, you'll actually be able to meet your constituents. You won't need to raise a ton of money. You'll actually get a chance to discuss policy on people's doorsteps or via email or text. And I think we'll return our politics to one where we develop consensus and we develop rationale. And at the same time, I think we get voters more involved. And that's why I think that's the antidote to the kind of big media politics that Gavin Newsom has used to gain power and really erode a lot of the living standards in California.
So let's talk about how that would be, how you would move this forward. You set up an organization. You're advocating for a more decentralized system. in which people you create, small, probably districts that were, or sub-districts that are the size of what districts used to be at one time in American history. You allow for the possibility of much more one-on-one interaction between elected leaders and their representatives. And you want to do this throughout California and then show that California is making local kind of Tocquevillian democracy work, and then have other people go, aha, maybe we should introduce this in Illinois.
Yeah, actually, the U.S. Constitution, as you might know, in Article 1, gives the states absolute authority to decide how their congressional representatives are elected. It has a minimum age of 25 years old, but it basically says the time, manner, and place of the election for Congress is up to the state. So yes, we'll try to get California. We're looking at Arizona and Nebraska maybe as potential states, laboratories for this. It's going to take a while. I think people, will, have to understand it. But I think it's, we've done focus groups and people love the idea. They love the chance that they'll get to have an impact on their representative. And they love the fact that the money and the advertising is basically minimized and taken out of the equation. And then you're right, it kind of returns our democracy to what the founders intended. And that is a Congress composed of people that are coming from neighborhoods or local farmers or local business people who represent their communities. And instead of blow-dried media types like Gavin Newsom, to give a good example, we'll get people that are really more knowledgeable about their local communities. And I think that's a really good thing to save our democracy.
Very interesting. Thank you, John Cox. I really appreciate it, guys. The book is The Newsom Nightmare. There's a website, thenewsomnightmare.com, and also Hear the People, HEAR, hearthepeople.org.
Thank you, Dinesh. A pleasure to be with you.
Debbie and I are on a great health journey, but we still struggle to eat enough fruits, veggies, and fiber, and those are a requirement. Now, lucky for us, we discovered Balance of Nature, and what better way to get all your fruits and veggies plus fiber than with Balance of Nature. This is Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies in a capsule, so easy to take, made from fresh whole produce. The produce is powdered after an advanced vacuum cold process which stabilizes the maximum nutrient content. And this is Balance of Nature's Fiber and Spice, a proprietary blend of fiber and 12 spices for overall and digestive health. Join Debbie and me. Start your journey to better health right now. Call 800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com. You get 35% off your first preferred order by using discount code America. Again, it's balanceofnature.com, or you can call 800-246-8751. You get 35% off your first preferred order by using discount code America.